Uh, uh, two, three. We live. I told you we was gonna get it in once again. It was going down. We were gonna go live. We were gonna get into some boxing. And when we get started, I like to make sure that I send a special shout out to all of you who are watching live here today on Master Boxing page, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We just sent a shout out to you. So special shouts out to those over on Instagram. The topics today: Javante Davis, Ryan Garcia, Errol Spence, Canelo Alvarez, and number five is the one that we all choose collectively. You got to put your facts down. You got to let me know about your boxing knowledge. I need to know if you really about that boxing life. And this is where you learn. So worst case scenario, it's time to check in before we get started. The first minute, we always check you in. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're at, where you represent, what gym you at. Um, what's up, champ? YouTube's in the house. YouTube struck first. I love it. That's what's up. That's the first time that's happened. That means YouTube is listening live as we get into what separates these guys and what makes them the Fab Five. Fab Five, what does that mean? They're fabulous in the sport. They're fabulous about the business. These guys are doing numbers astronomically. So I cannot just separate one from the next. The guys that you see now are the cash cows of the sport. Not only great at what they do, their crafts, but it's really important that you understand what does it truly take to really get to the level. Javante Davis just fought Mario Barrios. And not only did he fight in a fight that was extremely competitive, the guy was long, the guy was rangy, the guy had power, the guy was undefeated, and the guy had people betting on him for real. And why is that? Because at any time at this level, you can slip up and on that banana peel. So what you saw in Tank, first he has the proper marketing, right? Why? Floyd Mayweather is with him. He's teaching them how to do it and go about it the right way. You can't shake a stick at that. So make sure you guys let me know where you at. Let me know where you're from. I see you checking in, check in, because today the Fab Five is going to be basically about you. What do you see? Who is your fighter? Because there are several people that I saw chiming in on the post from yesterday. You want to see fighters like Jamal Charlo, who's also an undefeated fighter. You want to see Josh Taylor, who's also an undefeated fighter. There are several people that you guys put up here. I even saw Anthony Joshua. So yes, you got to admit to that. If you put that up there, please raise your hand, because this list isn't about who you like, but who truly checks those boxes in boxing when it comes to not just the skill, but the business as well. So when you look at Javante Davis, he's dazzling, absolutely sizzling in the ring. You can never shake a stick at that. The next thing, you look at the next fighter that we have on the list. I had Shakur Stevenson being brought up here. Went to conversations. I checked the boxes. I saw who you guys were putting up there. There's just a serious disconnect when it comes to people like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. All of those guys got put on the list that you were putting out here as a number five. But the reason why those guys don't make the list and they cannot make the cut is because they do not do the business side the same way these guys are. They all have about the same amount of fights, but the business side, they're not hitting those pay-per-view arenas. They already have Ryan Garcia in box office fights. This dude's fighting guys from the UK, all right, and getting dropped in the fight. So he's exciting because he's brash. He has that stuff. on this page, I want to make it clear what it takes to build up a guy who can be what we call marquee. Marquee isn't just good. Hagler was good. When you're marquee, you have to beat guys up so bad. When you're not marquee, you have to beat guys up so bad that you have to pay attention to him. Marvelous Marvin Hagler didn't get recognition to after his 55th fight. Now imagine the guys today. I live in the Durham area. My question is, do you think there should be a third fight between Triple G and I just think this is what it is. That was a great question. But the question about these guys when it comes to Triple G, it was about brand. His brand value is down so much, but he's going to want, 40% of the purse. His brand is there. He's not driving numbers. So it would not make sense for Canelo. Triple G will not win that fight. He definitely won't win now. Canelo's fighting at 68 and 75. I mean, the bone density is on an entirely different level. His skill set is on a different level. Triple G is a pure middleweight, man. He will absolutely annihilate him. Now, the confidence ain't where it was. It will truly only be for a big payday and to feel what it's like to be mentioned in the same conversation as a marquee fighter. That's exactly what we're saying. These guys have already reached that pyramid of being marquee, not just a good fighter. So I don't think that there is any interest on the Canelo Alvarez side unless Triple G went up to heavyweight and knocked out, some Tyson Fury, and then his brand went to part. You can walk around the streets, no one knows Triple G. So that means you're not filling up any arenas. That means you're riding shotgun on my coattails. So I'm gonna have to charge you just to be on him. That's where we are with that fight. So it's absolutely, he's not a marquee name. Only boxing aficionados know him. Typical boxing casuals hardly know his name. It's only been a couple of years since that fight, and that's what the business side of boxing will do. He was wearing Michael Jordan brand. He was sponsored by Apple when he was in front. He was in the lead. He had the name. He had the fight prowess. He was destroying no-name guys. And I'm not here to dispel what he did, but in boxing, there are no ghosts, and they built him up as the boogeyman. And I knew that he would get to a day where he fought someone who could take a punch. And that's exactly what he did. He found a guy who could take a punch, and Canelo could. So no, there's no need for that fight. So special shouts out to you from the Durham area. I used to live in North Carolina. Now we in Southie. So good luck with that. What's up, Nico Derby? Hi, mate. What did you eat today, mate? Well, to be honest, Chick-fil-A. I saw this dude on YouTube who made the actual Chick-fil-A sandwich, so it looked so delicious. I actually went and got one. So that's what I had so far. I get up in the morning. I try to do I try to make sure I got guacamole in my, avocado, some form. I got to have a superfood. But that was kind of like my cheat day. We prepping to go see Space Jams. Me and my team, we going to see Space Jams tomorrow. So we got our tickets. We're going to be going to the movie theater for the first time during the pandemic. So what did you eat today? Special shouts out to my brothers, TSOB, Stephen Willis out in Hawkesbury. Canada is in the house. What's going on, in the building? Good coaches. Good to see you, brother. We got a hot one Tuesday, Coach Willett. So make sure you be in the house on Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon. We're gonna do it for the School of Boxing. We're gonna do a very good in-depth going into the nationals, going over some real in-depth conversation. So make sure you stay tuned. All right, Mr. Takani, Errol or Manny. Well, we're about to get down here to Errol, but what I was speaking of is what the difference is when you got guys who have reached a marquee level. Marquee is meaning You understand branding, you understand business, and you understand that fighting pays those bills. So winning is part of it. Having your brand, and this is what we're doing, and I'm teaching the guys inside of the School of Boxing how to build your brand. And some people don't understand the difference between a brand and a business. A business, you can have a business and you can pay your own bills and you can be having nice luxury cars. But when you become a brand, other people make money off of your name. Like people in gyms and places have made money off of my name for 2 decades. They utilize my name. And that's why I understand that I was a brand, because what I bring to you increases your value. It gives you another talking point, a selling point. So for a long time, gyms would just tell people that I was there at their gym and I was a member or I worked there, and they would use that to sell memberships. And a lot of the time I was just showing up at gyms and I wasn't even doing it. I was a part of camp, so I pop in, but they used it. And now all they needed to do is see my face and look at this. That's how it works. But when you're a brand, you have to learn that that's different than a business. So building your brand, people just knowing you, it increases their value, right? If you're in a circle of Michael Jordan and guys like Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and people who are at the highest levels, their brand just touches you, and it increases your value. So that's what it's all about. Business, you can be a small business and just do good enough just to have a good life. But when you're a brand, other people eat off of your name and your company. So that's a powerful thing. And that's what Javante Davis, Ryan Garcia is feeding a lot of people. Tank Davis, he's feeding a lot of people. Now we're down to Errol Spence. Oops, let me back up. That's the key to becoming marquee. That's why I don't put Stevenson in the Shakur Stevenson in that category yet. I don't put people like Devin Haney in that category yet. Those guys are highly skilled. Terrence Crawford, see, that's not a brand yet. He's a very elite and probably the elitist of the elite fighters when it's all said and done in the smoke and mirrors. But he's going about it a little bit different than Hagler, more like Bernard, but he's not going to capitalize off of his name more than he is his fists. I hope that makes sense. And that's where we are with people who decide that it's not about the brand, it's about having the overall fighting ability. So let me take another question. Okay. Hello, guys from Uganda, Africa. I want to ask a question. Why do you guys leave messages? And it's constantly with from Uganda. You guys just leave messages in the messenger like, "Hi, look, we chop it up here. Say words, man. We embrace everybody. So never feel, shunned. Always feel comfortable to talk, but be ready to ask some real questions." And special shouts out to Uganda. Much love from the US. Southie. There we go. Joel Hake. Fifth would be, oh, I can't think of his name. Is that the monster? Yeah, could be the fifth. Yeah, he could be, but you got to remember one thing. Some of these guys are so new on the scene that when you're marquee, you don't know. You gotta be in there and you gotta figure it out. Do you want him to? He kind of falls in that same place and space that Triple G did. We had this total, aura about him, but when it's all said and done, he was beatable. And when you're marquee, it's like you're winning in so many ways: business, branding, and boxing. First time to live feed. Great conversation. No gym, just a fan of the sport. Well, welcome, man. Pippi's Place. Where's that at? Let us know where your place is at. Is that your place? Is it a business? Love to hear. And like I said, we like to know about our people. A lot of people are not in the fight game, but they learn, they take it in. And guess what? It increases your boxing IQ. So hey, what the hey? It makes watching fights much better. What's going on, Armand? Where? I love talking boxing. I've been meaning to come to your gym. We don't have a gym, buddy. We are an institute. Another question: why won't Bud Crawford fight someone like Sean Porter or Keith Thurman? Because though that means he'd have to rely on their name to fill arenas. That means he'll have to rely on their name to bring the purse up. High risk, low reward, and not interesting. You really don't have any components to figure out about those guys. You know what Sean Porter's going to bring. All right. I talked with his father, Coach Kenny Porter. Special shouts out to Coach Kenny Porter. I was supposed to take a narrative and go into the DC training camp when he fought Errol Spence. Our fighter, was on this work schedule working for Amazon and just was not in the shape. They wanted him to still come in. He was a good quality guy. But the thing about it is when you come into camp with a guy like Sean Porter, you got to fight hard. You got to be grindy. You got to be in shape. This dude was probably 24 pounds overweight. He was a light heavyweight naturally, walking around at about 194. And when a fighter gets 20 some pounds out of his weight class, that means he's really out of shape and his mindset there. So it would take 3 days to get him there. And I just told Kenny no, but Kenny insisted because they thought it was a punching bag. And this dude is not. This dude really has the slick. He's an undefeated professional fighter under the Master Boxing banner since 2007. And, you got to remember these type things when it comes down to fighters. You have to have their best interests because they're not. That's why they're fighters, right? So fighting Sean Porter, are you really going to get up for that fight? Is it a fight that's going to fill up Wembley Stadium? Is it a fight that's going to fill up Cowboy Stadium? Absolutely not. It's just going to be a lot of risk and a very little bit of a reward. All you're going to do is get pushback from fighting him. And Keith Thurman, he plummeted after fighting Manny Pacquiao. You want to fight a fighter that's going to keep a buzz going after your guys fight. So look at when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez. Truly, what do you think Floyd really feels when he sees Canelo dominating? He's proud as hell, no matter what he says, because it's making that victory look greater and greater and greater every time Canelo destroys someone. And that's what the game about. He is so proud and his heart is bursting. Trust me, he might not say it out loud, but if Canelo would have crashed and burned, it would have been a very big disappointment for Floyd Mayweather. So marquee matters, man. So Sean Porter is not a marquee name. He's not a brand. Other people aren't making money off of his brand. People are getting rich off of Manny Pacquiao's name alone. Being in camp, one of my fighters was his chief sparring partner for years, and he benefited greatly. Now, I wasn't out west to do what we call the monetary arrangements, because if that was the case, he would have made much, much more. But that's why it matters that you have brain trust. And that's why the coaches that are in the school of boxing right now, special shouts out to the school of boxing, I have their brain trust. I have them covered. They will not be those guys out there coaching guys for pennies. You will be making real money, because the fighters, they're making real money today. I'm from Utah. How do you feel about Javante? What do you think he will do preparing wise to be ready for his next fight? So it would be so close, like his last fight, before his incredible punch power came through. That wasn't just punch power, my friend. That was skill, that was planning, that was technical savvy. And he's a savage. You haven't been in the ring before and work with athletes. It's just like going in there against the young Michael Vick, or a young Cam Newton, someone who has an arm like Aaron Rodgers. It's so difficult to prepare for something that you can't train for in camp. You can't train for superpowers, explosive speed, unequivocally. You can't even measure it. Like Pacquiao, our guy was the slickest, I mean, the slickest, most technical fighter. I'm telling you, extensive amateur career, well over 100 fights, 98 victories, crazy skill set, offensive and defensive prowess. Never seen him get hit clean more than once at one time. And, Pacquiao closes the distance on this kid so quick, hits him in the stomach. Boom, boom, because you never have had the muscle memory preparation to fight a guy who has that nasty of an arsenal. Plus, Tank has a very solid defense. Footwork, because he's working side by side with Mayweather. Now, Broner was his only mentor. I don't know if his footwork would have been where it was, but the fact that he mimicked a lot of his style after Pretty Boy, hence makes him have to raise the bar when it comes to the footwork. It's just like what we do with our footwork programs, and y'all can see them on the page. The footwork system is absolutely crazy. You're talking over maybe when just footwork collectively, you're talking about over 120 different patterns of footwork. So that's what the guys get whenever you're in that kind of setting. You're learning the variables of footwork. So that's what we learn and teach in the School of Boxing. Or if you just get those footwork programs, you get the skill set. But when you get the footwork, we do what we call the theory and the geometry of the basic footwork. And that breaks it down even further, so you understand more or less what you're doing. So Tank, just like the next guy who I'm going to get into, Canelo Alvarez, Tank is unique and Canelo Alvarez is very unique. And I'll break down some of the things that he does very special. And you don't want to miss that, because there are several points when it comes down, 4 serious points with Canelo Alvarez, which I'm going to break down to you right now. But, he'll do what he's doing. He's humble. That's why I think Tank will be all right. At first, I didn't think so. I didn't know if he was going to take the Adrian Broner route, brash and flashy. And I think the reality, and I think the pandemic has helped some people, and it took some guys downhill. So I think he's a lot more mature. I saw him on the All Access, and he was very, very impressive with his conversations. He was very vulnerable in his post-fight talk by saying and admitting that he was scared of Barrios and he was being extra cautious. And it was the reason why he took so long to knock him out, because he has the power to knock guys out. And people who've been in there with him, and I'm talking about people like Adrian Broner, who really are in the ring working with him. And Timothy Bradley even said it, that he could knock out a heavyweight. When a guy could punch like that, that's a problem. So to be at that lightweight class and you can hit like that and faster than those guys, it makes it even tougher to beat them. So can really throw down. Yeah, I'm sure he can throw down. Yeah, I'm not knocking it, but you got to finish proving it for people like me who have the understanding of your total package. Sometimes it's who has been in front of you. Has he done that against a Manny Pacquiao? Has he been in a war like Hagler Hearns against a marquee guy? I mean, a guy who has it all to lose. A name as big as, those who are great, like the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Cassius Clays. That's when you can say a guy's a true monster. And as great as I think Crawford is, his name's not on this list for several reasons. And I just went through them. So if you missed that part of the video, go back a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes from this place, and listen to why I don't have Crawford on the list. I don't have Shakur Stevens on this list. I don't have Devin Haney on this list. I don't have Teofimo Lopez on this list. And I guess if somebody asks me why he's not up there, I'll tell you. Throwing down is one thing, man, but it's like I said, it's a serious thing. He's best pound for pound in my eyes. Well, yeah, Triple G was best pound for pound on some other people's eyes. So you can think that way. That's why they signed the contracts. And I'm not knocking them because I maybe become a fan. George Kambosos was a total stranger to me last year at this time. But my man Paul out in Aussie, so special shouts out to Aussie, Paul out in Aussie for putting me up on his radar screen. Had him on the show. Great kid, can fight, has the total package when it comes down to understanding the sport of boxing, the history and the lineage. And I appreciate his knowledge. And I totally saw him different. And that's what it takes sometimes. Look, I got two eyes in my head and I'm an extremely busy man. I don't have time to study everybody, but when I do, because I got the most extensive fighting library in the history of boxing, bar none. I don't care who you go get. I got the deepest library, my stuff and the stuff that I've recorded since 1897, the first reel of boxing, 38 frames a second. Holla at your boy. I'm about that life for real. So when it comes down to the fight game, I'll be able to peel his tater. You believe me? Soon as I see him, 12 seconds in, I can tell you everything about him, where he's going, and what he's going to do in the future. So you're definitely making me want to pull him up and really chop him down. And I see the hype around him, but this is boxing. There are no such thing as ghosts. Grow up. Yes, the monster. Yes. And why do you think somebody would use their name? Why? It's because like B2K, he got a big following. That's what they're doing. And a lot of stuff is marketing. So you got to be careful. Do I think he's the real deal? I think he's going to be really good. But so was Prince Nassim Hamed. But there was a limit to his good. All right. Because you're just not going to destroy everybody. That's smoke and mirrors. This is boxing. When you get in there against the elitist of guys, when you come into a training camp like with Earl Spence, or you go over to Philadelphia and Baltimore, and you go into the real doghouse, all those guys get exposed because he has a good day, he has a bad day, he has a horrible day. Has a good, decent day. Look, that's what happens in the real fight gym. Ain't nobody can beat everybody. If you're the best dude in the gym, you're at the wrong gym. Benjamin, what's up? What's a respectable weight for persons 5'3", stocky, and extremely strong naturally? That means nothing in boxing. It's all about, can you get your head off the line? And if you're 5'3", I don't know if you're a 5'3" like Maurice Jones-Drew, who was 208 at 5'3", or if you 5'3" and you lean and slim like about Manny Pacquiao kind of dude. I don't know. It's all about your bone density and the body dexterity. You might be a thick like a little running back, or you might be thin like, Marco Antonio Barrera. I don't know what kind of 5'3" you are. So that's all. It almost seems like you have to be more business minded to be a boxer more than actually fighting an opponent. Well, you do have to be business minded because it's your health. You only got so many blows to the head you can take. So you got to cash in, or people will use you. They will use your looks. They will use your health to monetize you. Have you ever had a friend that used you, whether it's a girlfriend or a homie that used you? People use you. Have you ever had a job that you outworked some of the other people, but they was making more? All right. In boxing, you only have so many blows you can take to the head before your brain damage or drain damaged. All right. So you gotta learn how to monetize what you're gonna be on, sitting with your grandkids in a under a bridge in some over with some boxes covering you up and can't talk because you don't have money because you didn't know how to do business. So check what you say, man. If you just want to see fights, you can go, and they got a lot of it's a lot of hoods that all they do is fight. Or you can go watch Bare Knuckle Brawling. Special shouts out to Scott Burt, president of the Gazette. Police Gazette up there, upstate New York. Special shouts out to those guys. Bare knuckle brawlers in the building. What's going on, Armin? Yo, what's up? Don't mean to overwhelm you with questions, but Demetrius Andre showed up to Canelo press conference. Oh yeah, he did. Do you think Andre is ready for Canelo, or is Andre chasing a big money fight? He's chasing a big money fight. He feels like he can beat him. Every fighter feels like they can beat a fighter. Every fighter feels like you can beat him until you get in there and realize, this dude understands things I didn't realize. This dude hits hard. I can't slip all these punches. What's the deal? Canelo has been in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. He the best fighter in this era, defensively minded, and built this brand. Arguably between him and Manny, it doesn't matter. They 1A, 1B, whoever takes it, because Manny's resume is just insane. Floyd's resume and just key to have the blueprint to be perfect fighter with an undefeated record. Regardless if you think he won or lost, he's retired and his record says 50-0. Yeah, that's a very hard feat. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't do it. Muhammad Ali didn't do it. Mike Tyson didn't do it. Rocky Marciano was the last dude to do 49-0. Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. didn't do it. That's business. That's understanding the game on an entirely different level, and being third generations mattered. So I think Demetrius Andrade is a good fighter, but an inactive fighter is not. It's all muscle memory. I don't care how much you're in the gym. When you're fighting someone like Canelo Alvarez, who's been in the ring with the best fighter in the world, and then been in the ring with his co-partners like Miguel Cotto and Triple G, and he can't see anything, and then went up in 175 and fought Kovalev. You can't assume that this guy can just overcome that when Canelo's constantly fighting, active, different styles, different sizes, different punch power and abilities, the muscle memory, and plus he's grooming the other top fighters. He got Andy Ruiz, he has Garcia. He's being surrounded by the Mexican community on an entire different level. He has a boxing academy, Canelo Academy. Pull it up. He's on an entirely different level, and he has to be. If he wants to be and stay and remain marquee, Canelo can lose and not lose a fan. Get it? Same thing with Manny. Manny can lose and not lose a fan. That's when you're marquee. Muhammad Ali lost, never lost a fan. Tyson Fury 3. Tyson versus Fury 3. You're talking about Wilder, Canelo Mexican beef. Yeah, okay. Be serious about your post here, man. I don't have time to goof off. Speaking of Canelo, how do you feel about the leap he has taken defensively from when he fought Mayweather until now? Canelo's defensive technique has been a fun evolution to watch. And yes, it has. Because when he was in the ring with Floyd, he realized there are things that Floyd does that you can't see outside of the ring. So he allowed the rest of the evolution to happen to his boxing IQ. Therefore, it's that thing that you don't see. That's why people who want to get in the ring with him, like Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, they don't understand that there are those elements that you can't see when you watch tape. You can't see a person's mind thinking. You can't see his perception working. You can't see his natural response and reaction and the ability, and you can't see his vibration. When you feel his vibration and you're in there, it's different. Like with Manny Pacquiao, all those guys postured over Manny Pacquiao when they get ready to fight him, when they end the weigh-in, and they standing over him at the press conference taking pictures, and they looking down on him, and he's looking up, and he knows there's just something you don't know, but you will find out on fight night, that invisible thing, and we call it that thing that has no name. Great question, man. And you're not slamming me with questions. That's what this was about. It's about topics of boxing these fighters and what makes a fighter marquee. How does a guy make it to the top five? And who is the fifth guy? And so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. Great stuff, coach. My top picks to go to round out your Fab Five is Lomachenko. Why? Uh, People are sleeping on him, acting like he isn't still one of the best pound for pound and technically skilled. Terrence Crawford, consistency, 37-0 and going strong. He hasn't fought in a year. Tyson Fury, best technical boxer in heavyweight division. Uh, I still can't pronounce this guy's name. And Nuya, something like that. Speed, technique, and skill. Honorable mention, young guns to watch. Virgil Ortiz, he's nasty. Devin Haney, keep an eye on these guys in the next 12 months. It's obvious you don't know things about you love boxing, but let me explain something. As I said, not one of these guys, even Tyson Fury, none of these guys are marquee fighters. Period. These guys don't pack arenas. These guys don't have extensive branding. These guys don't make other people super rich just by knowing them in association with. Not just skill, technique, speed, and remember, speed and power, those are what we call smoke and mirrors. Those things are attributes. You can strip an attribute away from a guy easily in boxing. When you are a master at boxing, remember that, and you should know that. School of Boxing. Come on now. Holla at your boy Steve. I didn't put these people on the list because they're not marquee. I love all of these fighters. But, Terrence Crawford, technically, and he's just a savage, but he's not marquee. You can't go anywhere and ask anybody who's not in boxing about any of these names, including Fury, and they know him. I just left a gym and they didn't know anybody. They don't even know names like Dana White, as big as his name is. Hardly know Floyd, but Floyd is marquee. So I know all of those guys. Some of them I just don't know how to pronounce their name yet. All those constants back to back throw me off sometimes. Name your favorite fighter and most intelligent fighter. Favorite fighter as in forever or in this era? Because right now I just like to be entertained by guys who understand branding themselves right, who are willing to do the branding right, and also know how to build business to help other people make successful livings, and then know how to perform in the ring. And it's very few of those. And these guys have made the list. Canelo Alvarez is the person that if I have to go see a fight, that's who I want to see. Then the next person that I want to see in person, I would love to see a Javante Davis. The other person that I don't want to go see him. I'm gonna be freaking backstage. But when you go to a fight, you want it to be an event. When you put on events, I like to be a part of events. I've done so many boxing shows, been in part of, but I was always working. And so I wasn't able to enjoy it, but you love feeling the ambiance. I remember we walking down to the ring and you just zoning things out. But the energy of a packed arena and something on the line is a big, big energy rush that you can look back on. You can't enjoy it when you're a part of it. And you got to wrap fighters and grease fighters and get fighters ready and be paying attention to the fights that's going on so you can see certain things that's going on and tendencies with the night and seeing how the judges are working. Man, I had a stressful job. But right now, I love watching Canelo, and I enjoy watching the Charlos fight. I love the nastiness of Jermell, and Lomachenko was really, really high on my list when it comes down to what he's able to do. That's why I showed those guys in the school of boxing the method of how you develop the footwork and it looks that way because I'm a pretty dancer when it comes down to it. So applying that footwork skill set prowess makes you just look like Fred Astaire on ice. You moving. And that's what I loved about him. And I was hoping that a lot more fighters took it serious, even took dance to get better at that footwork and understanding how to rotate that body in certain ways and how to just be so smooth in transition and being able to compose and understand distance and punch variations and being able to do a lot of different change up speeds, making sure that you're keeping the guy at the place that you can work and he can't. He's uncomfortable and staying just on enough angle that he cannot get the punches off that he wants to, and you keep him frustrating, and then touching him with just shots and knocking them out with shots that don't even look like they hurt. That's the sweetest science of boxing. That's what Lomachenko gave, and that's what Lomachenko was. But Lomachenko is definitely didn't lose skill. He's figured out how to beat a guy like Lopez now. So if they fought again, believe me, it won't look like it did the last time. But thing about him, he's not marquee. He's too reserved to build his brand because he would be able to build his brand. See, Manny Pacquiao has built his brand up, and that's why Manny is marquee. He doesn't even need to be on the list because he's not young. He's just kind of, hey, Paul, I gave you a special shout out, man. Appreciate you, brother. That's my man, Paul, Aussie in the building. I'm gonna just put you in the school, man, because I want you to meet some other guys that we have out there in Aussie too. You're a good brother. You're well knowledge in the sport of boxing as well as a good trainer. Thanks for answering all my questions. But my last question is probably a whole topic by itself. What do you think about Edgar Berlanga? Can he be bigger than Tank and Canelo? No. You haven't even seen where Tank and Canelo are going to end up yet. Yo, Canelo is, y'all don't understand his mental prowess. He, because he has that one loss, he's a very proud man. And he's going to smash as many records as he can to try to erase that record, just like Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. Can you believe that? Out of college, out of Michigan. And he's held that chip on his shoulder. It's 2021. That dude's still winning Super Bowls because he's still fueled by those people who insulted his IQ of football. And you think about that. And Tank has someone who's going to put him in the right place, the right time. And yes, but he can fight, but he's going to be built right. Floyd's trying to make sure that Tank stays undefeated, builds his marquee brand, and is able to make people rich by riding by him in his car. And he has the blueprint for that. So, unless Tank decides to fall short in training, it's going to be hard. But Berlango is another name. There are guys you can almost tell by their name that eventually they will reach a ceiling, just like Triple G. And you see these kind of names and they all eventually will topple out. Will they at least reach the level that a Prince Nassim Hamed reach? I mean, the money, the lifestyle, the cachet. Will they reach that level? Because that's a very high level. But when you get it fast and hard, it goes away quick. You look at Mike Tyson. He got there. Boom! 20 years old, world champion, youngest to ever do it. And then crash and burn. So you got to be careful. And that's what I think about that. It's not is he going to get to that point, but what level will it reach? Will it reach Nassim or will it reach Tyson and then crash? But when you get there, are you going to have the longevity of a Bernard Hopkins, a guy who's technically crafted and left with little to no damage? And you look at people like Mayweather, I have to use him, and Andre Ward, who just had their craft down. That's why we teach you guys those skills that we put on the page. Those won't help you. It's the crafting and the concepts and theory and what we do and learn inside of the school of boxing is what creates the separation. And you can tell by what we're talking about that there's so much more to it than meets the human eye that you don't see. And that's why when you get in the ring with people like Pacquiao and people like Ray Leonard and people that have that thing that has no name, when you get in there, you realize this is a lot different. So great question. You asked very good questions. What does Wilder have to do to find his vibration? I like how you put that earlier. I still have Fury winning, but is it weird? I consider Wilder marquee still. I feel like Deontay just need a better jab and work on keeping his head moving. And see, that stuff is all muscle memory. And so I got to get into that conversation because muscle memory is so important to boxing. And so many guys want to take the short and not understand it. What I show you guys on the page, which a lot of you take it and share, because we get like, well, I don't know, 365,000 shares a month. All right. That's crazy. But you don't have and make the time to really learn. That's why those guys join the school of boxing, because I position it so they actually ingrain muscle memory. I've seen guys share 30 of my videos on their timeline. There's no way you practice those because there are 10 drills to lead you to that one drill that you're learning, that you did that one. So what your typical flaw is you want to know it so bad, all you do is copy it, but you don't take time to learn it. And you definitely don't take time to ingrain it into your muscle memory. That makes sense. That's exactly why we had to antidote that. But when you look at Deontay Wilder, he didn't have the time to develop these things. And he was so big on his power, he just wanted to keep perfecting that right hand so he could keep getting those knockouts. When I think of Deontay Wilder now and Tyson Fury, there are several things that have surfaced. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Some of that stuff that he's saying starts to have some validity when Tyson Fury showed up a couple of weeks ago when they faced off. He looked different. He saw that Wilder was training a lot different. And he saw that it started to make me realize I understand human behavior really well. That's why I was a very good trainer when it comes down to this. It's because I understand human behavior. So I really noticed that without being able to rattle him verbally, because Wilder had those headsets on, he really didn't have anything. And he showed me he wouldn't even look him in the eye. He looked the lesser guy. And I was like, didn't see that coming. But I also knew that mind game is a big part of what he uses and does. And he is the most skilled boxer in the fight game, pound for pound or at heavyweight, however you want to say it. So don't think this is coming from a place of not acknowledging Tyson Fury's greatness in the ring. Then the next thing, all of a sudden, this pullout of this fight, COVID, I'm saying, man, things are starting to happen to change the validity of what Wilder was saying. And is there a worry in the Fury camp? Yeah, because something is different. And I have to just put that out there. I'm only very, very in depth and inept with human behavior. That's why I could read the other fighter. That's why if I'm sitting across the corner and I'm talking to a guy that's working a fight, you better just throw in the towel, because I can read fighter. I can read human beings so good. And what I've been reading from Tyson Fury as of late, okay, is not what I would consider. I double down on him beating Deontay this time, because there's just something different, something that's underlined that I can put my finger on, but it'll be a whole conversation. And it will be the first time in history that something like this has triumphed. And what I see in Wilder, not really taking part in media, but just showing what he's doing, but not in depth. Because what you see is one thing, what's really happening is another thing. And he's just sending a message. So, that's why at first that fight didn't make a lot of sense, but there's another underlying thing that's happening. And I think the third fight is going to totally tail it. So it's going to be interesting for you to see those who are pulling for Fury and those who pull for Wilder. It will be something that we needed in this era, a heavyweight real clash that had different storylines and a lot to unpack. And there's a lot to unpack just from the past 2 weeks of this fight almost happening to boom. So it's great for boxing, though. I like it. One of my favorite fighters at the moment is Cambosis. I like Cambosis. I like his overall. I'm gonna finish reading this, but I love the fact that he was able to stand up at that Triller sit down conversation that he had against Teofimo Lopez and in the hood on the block in the streets. For those of you who don't know where I really learned how to do them things and throw them things, that's where I did. And there will be something that a guy would try to take from you. Is first is your heart. And when he tried to take Cambosis' heart, Cambosis gave him that look, like Godzilla looked at King Kong, like, you really want this smoke, really? And I love that language, that vibration, the algorithm of a fighter who's coming to take your heart. And I don't just think I'm going to take your heart, I'm going to take your heart. And I think that message went through and landed on Teofimo Lopez's heart and his mind. And I think that COVID conveniently landed in that training camp, because you don't just get COVID and then tell people the next day. If you got COVID, COVID is on you. All right. Most of the cases, there's the untraceable kind that people don't feel it. You might lose your taste, might have a lip, but you don't just conveniently say, well, I got COVID, well, I ain't gonna fight. No, think about that. No. COVID is either on you and no way you can fight. No. I think Justy Honey is just tapping into the heavyweight division. Look out for him, brother. Another Aussie. Y'all love your guys, and I'm glad you guys are grooming some guys over there, man, because the game needs them. Down under, it's overdue that you bring some of those guys with some marquee names. And like I said, I like Cambosis. I'm gonna keep my eye out for these guys. If you all know people that are coming up, I always like to know about them. And because a lot of these guys, these trainers, their coaches, they reach out, they want information, they need, aid on so many different levels. So we just try to make sure that we have consciousness of who these fighters is. A guy called me and might want to get some aid in camp. My thing now is to groom my coaches so I can put them in those positions, because those days, that stuff's too stressful. I mean, there's so much that comes with it. So I'm glad that I'm able to groom these guys, and Coach Stephen Willits and Coach Glenn Hudson and Eric Colazar, coach out there, and Everett Washington. I just got a good bevy of coaches, man, that we're preparing for this game. So I'm looking forward to it all. How do you feel about Gary Russell Jr.? Here's a very skilled fighter. I see most people duck around to fight with him. I believe that would be a great fight. Great test for Tank. Well, look, Coach Anthony Bradley is very close friends with his family, the Russell family. And I'll tiptoe around that. An inactive fighter is a fighter who does not have consciousness of branding. Therefore, he can't be a marquee fighter. Therefore, he's just high risk, low reward. So therefore, you won't get the big fights. You won't stay active. Therefore, that will be your demise, because muscle memory is boxing. I don't care how good you were and when you fight some guys. When you start fighting Lomachenko guys, when you start fighting guys like Tank, when you start fighting guys like Alvarez, all that stuff, you look very regular because they know how to take away your attributes. And that's why I tell you, never depend on speed and power. It's all about time and range and algorithm. Your vibration carries so much more. So you got to have the technique first, then you got to develop skills, which is offense, defense, counterpunch abilities, and all of those. Those are your skills. And then skill sets, how to merge that when you put your technique with your skill and the muscle memory to ingrain it so you won't make mistakes, and conditioning, breathing, all of that stuff. This is the stuff that we teach in the School of Boxing, how you go about developing. And then you start to get concept. You understand the concept of it all. And from there is theory. From that point, you start to craft your boxing style. And then you become comfortable. And that's when you start to add kg to it. All right. And that's when you start to have that Evander Holyfield stuff, knowing how to use the ring, knowing how to use the opponent's attributes against them, not just take them away, but use them against them. Cagey. And you continue leveling up. And this is how the IQ that you get when you're in the School of Boxing. So I'm looking forward to continually sharing this stuff with you guys. I appreciated this. But the guy who we will put as the good God, man, y'all left some questions. The other fighter we're gonna put down here is based upon what we saw a lot of people saying, and he truly still deserves to be on this list regardless, because he's positioned himself to be one of the better fighters in the world and has proven himself over and over. And it's the guy who's positioned himself to be in the ring with Errol Spence, and that's Manny Pacquiao. So special shouts out to Manny Pacquiao. No one else moves you out of that spot. The fact that you put one of the undefeated fighters in this era on his butt and won in a violent fight, you're still marquee and you're on the top because nobody's near you, not close. So all the guys you guys name, you don't know enough about the sport at large, the stuff that happens behind the doors, the stuff that happens in the gym to understand why those guys are not on the list right now. But Charlo would be the guy, and I'm not talking about Jamal, I'm talking about Jermell, because what Jermell proved is different. He proved that he could knock a guy out that he truly beat the first time. So he really should be undefeated, but it's made him dig down. And I think that's one of the most dangerous fighters in the world that not a lot of people are talking about. Jermell Charlo is an absolute savage. Trust me. And his partner is on this list, who's in his training camp, Errol Spence. Derek James is doing a great job out there. So that's all I got for right now. If you guys want to inquire about learning what's going on in the School of Boxing, just reach out to us, holler at us, click the link in the comment box, and get yourself educated. Sometimes you guys are not even trainers. You just want to learn. You want to learn the sport from within, and that's what we do. We chop it up. We enhance your IQ, and we take things to the next level. So until next time, continue blessings at Godspeed. Remember, follow us at Master Boxing across the board. I'll see you next time. Peace.